For 29 seasons, this show has invited thousands of guests with all kinds of diverse points of view. And we have been asking our next guest to join us for a while now. So we're glad that he's taken us up on the offer today. Please welcome author of the new book, Communion, Finding My Way Back to Faith, the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance.
Today we're looking at daytime TV's favorite 5 old bags, The View. Today's special guest is JD Vance, the Vice President of the United States. They've badmouthed him behind his back for months and years even. Now that they have JD right in front of them, right where they want him, will they let him have it like they promised to do? Or will they back out like the cowardly shills that they are? Let's get into it. I can't believe JD agreed to do this. Look at the look on her. Oh yeah, of course.
I was surprised at how tall you were. He's very tall.
Well, if you only see somebody on TV, you just see their, in my case, giant head. So
We all
it hides how
have
tall
giant
I am.
heads,
That's
yeah.
right.
We are the table of big heads here.
So this
Yeah,
is a show of
big egos.
Americans, right? That's
Yeah,
what my
right,
media
yes.
team told me. Okay, good.
Well, we'll find out, huh?
Oh shit, here we go again.
Look at the look on her.
Yes, Mr. Vice President, thank you
She
for
can't
being with
smile
us.
if
Now,
she
you
tried.
came into
Look at her.
office with clear momentum, but when I talk to my friends and family who supported you and the president and still support you and the president,
Stop the cap.
one issue comes up time and time again, and it's the economy. Inflation's up, wages are down, gas prices are starting to drop at news of this Iran deal, which we will get to.
Sure.
What can you say to voters who trusted you to lower costs on day one, and will they be satisfied by November?
Well, I think that's ultimately up to the voters, right? I think voters have every right to expect as much as possible out of their elected representatives. We certainly know that we were elected on a number of mandates. One was to close the border, which I think we've done successfully, exceeded expectations there.
No, you
Number
didn't.
2 was to lower
A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit.
prices, and there's a lot of work to do, in large part because of what's happened over the last few months in the Middle East. But as you said, oil, which got up to $120 a barrel, now is at $80 a barrel. That's going to be reflected in lower fuel, lower food, lower energy prices. But there's a lot more work to do. The thing that I'm proudest about most, because as some of you may know, I grew up in one of these towns that was forgotten by the leaders in Washington of both parties, is that you're seeing, that's Middletown, Ohio. That's my hometown in southwestern Ohio. It was a proud steel town. I was raised by grandfather.
Oh yeah,
who was
steel
a union
towns.
steel worker. Is that those jobs disappeared. Those factories closed down. The thing that I'm most excited about is you do see a large amount of capital investment coming into our country. Factories being built, construction jobs.
It's
are
all
where
leaving Canada and
manufacturing
coming
jobs are
down
starting
there.
to catch up. So there's a lot more work to do. I think that we're making progress, but ultimately we're going to make our pitch to the voters in November, and they're the ones who get to decide whether we've done a good job or not, and that's how they're going to vote.
Okay. So President Trump has called affordability a hoax. He said that, not me. He's pouring money into this ballroom of his and the reflecting pool.
Private
Don't forget
donors.
The Arch de Trumpe, I call it, and a White House cage match. All these things.
It's called
Why is
UFC.
he doing that?
Very popular.
Everybody knows that Americans are struggling. What is he spending all this money for?
Well, I got to defend the president on the hoax point. What the president said is the idea that Republicans caused the affordability problem is a hoax.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. If you go back to the Biden administration, inflation got up to 9% under the Biden administration, okay? Right now it's at 3.5%. By the way, too high.
Wow.
We're doing everything that we can to bring it back down to 2.5%, which is where most people would like to see it. But we inherited an affordability problem. We're doing a lot to make it better. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot more work to do. But the president
Democrats want it right now.
In fact, he ran on
They
that.
always make
He
things
talked
happen
about
right
it,
now.
And we've done some things and made some good progress on that
He
point.
just said he loves the inflation.
What he said, Anna, what he said is that he loves the fact that the
I
inflation
hate
is
her.
going to come down when this war is over. That's what he said.
That's not what he said.
That wasn't a direct.
That's
Are you
not
his,
what he
wait,
said.
are you his
Nope.
interpreter or are you
Listen to the women. They'll tell you what he said.
Well, look. What the president said. People were asking about the inflation. They were asking about the affordability problem. Well, look. Which again is very real. And what he said is, I love the inflation because it's going to come down when the war is over. And now, again, we already
Makes
see
sense.
gas prices today, $4.06 a gallon, too high, but way down from where they were just a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot we got to do, but I think that we're doing as much as we can. We're going to keep on working at it. And again, the American people are going to make their verdict, but I think that we have a very credible case to run on, that we brought a lot of new investment. We're building the factories. That is going to pay serious dividends for the American people over the long haul.
When?
When? We want it now.
If you look at manufacturing jobs,
Okay.
those jobs are increasing at a large number. Construction jobs are doing a little bit
They don't
better.
even
So
want
what
to
happens
listen.
is the
They hate
construction
having to
jobs
hear
build
that
the factories,
Trump's
and then
being
manufacturing
successful.
workers go back to work. That also leads to rising wages. That's one of the things that I'm very proud of. Is if you look at the amount that wages are going up now compared to, say, 2022, they're going up way faster. That's a good thing. You know, the affordability problem. Again, gas, way too high right now. Certain things way too high. You know, rents have been either flat or down for 12 months now. So there are things that are showing signs of life, things that are showing signs of progress.
Doesn't sound like that in
My view, I'm
Canada.
sure you guys don't agree with it, is that we inherited a mess and we're fixing it. But sometimes it takes a long time to fix a mess.
Sonny.
Okay. Mr. Vice President, according to a new report from the New York Times, you were the leading voice behind the scenes to release the Epstein files, and we applaud you for that. And you warned top officials, including top DOJ officials, at strategy meetings taking place inside the Situation Room. We understand that there are tapes of those meetings, that this was a huge problem for the base. The report says you even floated having Tucker Carlson interview Ghislaine Maxwell.
Of course, they have to show a picture of Trump and
You were
Epstein.
rebuffed by your...
Still no proof.
Why?
Well, I'd say, first of all, don't believe everything that you read in any newspaper, whether it's a right-leaning paper or a left-leaning
any of it
paper,
true?
because as you guys know, well, there are things that are true, things that are false, and things that are
What
totally
part of it is
missing
true?
context. Well, here's what I'll say. So, number one, I am, frankly, kind of a conspiracy theory on the Epstein stuff, and that story says that that's one of the things that's true, is that some people called me a conspiracy theory
Chief of
on the
Staff,
Epstein
Susie
stuff.
Wiles, called you a conspiracy
and I love
theorist.
Susie, but absolutely, she thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist on the Epstein stuff, because I think that it's crazy that you had this guy who is clearly a sex predator who is hanging out with a lot of very wealthy and powerful
He
people.
was a honeypot.
That really bothered me. I don't know what's there, of course. Nobody knows exactly what happened unless you were there, but that really bothered me, and I wanted to have full transparency.
Let's see the
What I
tape.
disagree with is the idea that the White House wasn't committed to full transparency. We have to remember, like, I was inside the room when some of these decisions were made. The Epstein Files Transparency Act, the one that the president signed, the one that led to all these files that we're seeing, the emails. By the way, again, sorry, do I have to defend my boss? I know you guys don't always appreciate this, but, you know, one of the things you see in the Epstein emails is that Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump, and that Donald Trump literally reported Jeffrey Epstein to the
Nope,
police.
that's
one of
not
the
good
things
enough
that
for
came out of
them.
these
They were
files.
best friends for about a decade.
Oh, they were
Remember,
best
because he
friends.
signed that
You're so dumb. You are really dumb.
Transparency Act under duress when some Republican women, congresswomen like Lauren Boebert, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, did not give in to his pressure of not signing. He brought Lauren Boebert into the Situation Room to pressure her into caving on not voting for that bill.
So
A very bad liar.
let me respond to that. So
That's all true.
let me respond to that. So number one is, yes, Donald Trump, and he said this, he knew Jeffrey Epstein back in the 1980s. He also threw Jeffrey Epstein out of his club when he found out he was a creep and reported him to the police. That's something that the media often misses when it reports the story.
Epstein was a honeypot. His whole purpose was to get politicians into compromising positions on tape so that they could blackmail them years later. So I don't care what you say about Trump, whether you support him or not, he isn't stupid. And if he's Israel's boy, like everyone claims he is, then, and if Israel was running Epstein's honeypot, why would they allow their own guy to get put into a compromised position where they could use it against him later? Unless they did get him in a compromising position and they're using it to control him now. Either way, we don't know. We never will know. We're only going to get what we're seeing. They're only going to allow us to see what they want us to see. And that's it.
They tell the fact that they knew each other in the 80s, which the president himself admits. They ignore the fact that he narked on him to the police and led ultimately to Jeffrey Epstein's downfall. To that point, Anna, you know the Republican Party.
Is it genuine or
Well,
optics?
it's one of the things that led to law enforcement investigation. But on the point that you
And it
made.
was allegedly over a real estate deal that they got into a fight over.
But the email says
And
actually
they didn't just know each other.
I hate the look of her face.
They didn't just know each other. They were incredibly close friends.
he reported him to the police. That's what I'm saying. That is objective. That is objectively true. But Anna made,
She is a solid bitch right through.
That's a huge bitch.
I think
From tip to
will,
toe.
if I may,
No, no,
because
go
Anna made
ahead.
a very important point. This question about did Donald Trump release these files only under duress from Republicans? And Anna, you know the Republican Party probably better than I do. The idea
Like
that
the rest of them are
Donald
acting
Trump
to be a
is around
bitch,
afraid
she
of Republican
isn't.
congressmen as opposed to the other way around is kind of crazy.
What was the bipartisan, though? It was
well,
Republicans and Democrats.
but because the
Look at the look at her
Republicans control the
face.
House and the Senate, particularly the Senate, you need the Republican sign-off. What the president did is, look, I will say this again. I was in there in the meetings. He was very frustrated that the Democrats were making this about him when he's like, look, I threw the guy out of my club. I am the guy who reported him to the police, or one of the people who reported him to the police. The president was frustrated about that, absolutely. But he eventually came to say, you know what? Let's just get everything out there. Let's have this out in the public. And he actually called the senators. I was there. He called the senators and said, you know what? Pass this bill, I'll sign it, and that was it.
Well, then let me follow up briefly. Let me follow up briefly.
Yes.
It sounds like you believed that there would be men in the files who would be held accountable, rightfully so. And the American people are with you on this.
Yeah.
Why haven't we seen the release of over 2.5 million additional Epstein file documents? It seems like you are someone
Because
that
they're
is gonna
all
write down
guilty.
history on this.
So we've released, I think it's 6 million files or 6 million pages of documents.
Redacted
My understanding
files.
is the 2.5 million, Sonny. I'm going to check on this to make sure, but my understanding is that a lot of those are duplicates of things that have already been released.
So then
We're not
release them,
holding,
but we're not gonna have any questions.
we're not holding anything back. Some of those things are like the courts have to order you to release them. So that was one thing that we confronted. You talk about this situation in meetings is, you know, there was a big bunch of files that existed, I think, in the Southern District of New York, or maybe it was some other jurisdiction. But we were like, we want to release these files, but you need the court approval in order to release them.
He's very well spoken and easy to listen to. Imagine it was Kamala up here right now, and oh my God, it would be dreadful trying to get through it. Unbelievable.
The files. Sometimes we would apply to release the files and the courts would say no. So those particular documents, I would need to actually know exactly what you're talking
Because
about.
3.5 million documents were released, and my understanding is 2.5 million have not been released.
Those may have been the ones that are under court. So I don't know what the documents you're talking about, but I'm telling you,
Let me go to
we're
break. Let me go to
Whoa,
break.
whoa, whoa.
Let me go to break.
Kind of ends abruptly right there, but I think we've seen enough. The ladies had him right where they wanted him, right in the hot seat, and they were all too afraid to pull the trigger. They all sucked up to him, except for Anna, of course. She was just a bitch. But Whoopi, she said she was going to let him have it if she got him where she wanted him, and she had him, but didn't pull the trigger, just as expected. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, everybody. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel along, and we'll see you next time. Sit, Ellie, sit. Good pig.